So in today's video, we are going to be looking at all the fees and all the costs involved in buying in Sun City, Hilton Head. So if that's something that interests you, stay tuned because we are getting after it right now. Do you want to know everything there is to know about the South Carolina Lowcountry, whether it's Bluffton, Beaufort, Hilton Head Island, or Jasper County? Then subscribe below and tap that bell for notifications so you'll be the first to know about everything happening here. My name is David Simcox, host of this channel and a local real estate agent, and I'm also the leader of the Lowcountry Lifestyles team. I get calls and emails every day from people just like you and you and you looking to make their move here, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're moving in 3 days, 3 months, or even 3 years, give me a call, send me an email, shoot me a text, or you can even book a Zoom call, all in the description below, so I can help you find your Lowcountry lifestyle. Now, in today's video, this is actually in response to a viewer comment on this channel. So I had somebody comment and then they actually emailed in and they wanted to know everything and all the fees associated with buying in Sun City, Hilton Head. And Sun City, Hilton Head is the largest and the most amenity-rich 55 and better community here in the Southeast area and in the Lowcountry. It represents a huge part of our market. So I'm going to go into detail today to tell you about all the different fees if you're buying there and maybe even some of the hidden costs. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. First, I'm going to talk about all the upfront costs. The first thing you have to take into consideration is, of course, the purchase price. Now, the good news is there is something for almost every budget in this amazing 55 and better community. As of making this video, there were 199 active listings in Sun City, and the prices ranged anywhere from $250,000 all the way up to $1.2 million. So there really is something for almost everyone. There are both new construction opportunities and there are resale opportunities. Now, Sun City's been around for almost 30 years, so you can buy back in the south side where they started and you can have the mature landscaping and all the beautiful views, or you can buy a new construction home over in what they're calling the West Campus, and you can have all the latest and greatest in features and floor plans and finishes and have an absolutely beautiful move-in ready home, whatever works for you. Now, the first thing you're going to want to take into consideration is the earnest money. That's how much money you have to come out of pocket when you're getting ready to sign a contract. So if you're buying a resale home, earnest money is negotiable. So there is no set amount, but I would say on average, the earnest money for a resale home is anywhere between 1% and 3%. It could be more, it could be less. And keep in mind that money just goes into your attorney's account and then they apply that back to you at closing. So it's always your money and it's always sitting at your attorney's office. It's just there in case for some reason you're not able to perform on the contract. The seller has something to go after basically. Now, if you're purchasing new, the cash outlay is a little bit more. So if you're purchasing new as of right now, and they might change this in the future because it is a little bit fluid over time, but as of right now, they require 20% of the entire project. So the way it works is when you go into the new home sales center with me as your buyer's agent, you're going to pick out the floor plan, you're going to pick out your structural items, and then you're going to pick out your lot. And the lots could be wooded lots, lagoon lots, they could be berm lots or landscape lots, and you're gonna owe $20,000 right when you sign your contract. Then within a month, you're gonna go to the design center. You're going to pick out all the pretty things. You're gonna pick out the tiles and the flooring and the colors and the cabinets and the paints and all the fun stuff. And then they're going to tally all that up because they don't know how much you're going to spend at the design center. And they're going to calculate that design appointment into the total cost, which was already your base price, your lot premium, and your structural items. They're going to add it all together. And then at that point, you're going to owe the balance of 20%. So if you already gave them $20,000 and there's another $100,000 to bring you up to that 20%, you're going to owe that balance at that point. So if you're going new construction, it is a little bit more cash outlay up front as opposed to a resale home. I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just letting you know you're going to have a little more cash out of pocket there. Okay, next thing we can talk about is down payments. So again, down payment this is at closing. This is what you're going to bring to the table in cash if you're using financing. Typically, people could put anywhere from, you know, zero if you're doing a VA loan, up to, you know, 50, 60%. But a lot of times people want to do 20% down. That gets them out of paying that mortgage insurance, which is an additional fee that you're going to pay every month until you reach that 20% equity mark. All right. So how much down payment? Again, it's flexible. It's up to you. And it also depends on your own unique lending situation. So again, I can put you in touch with Aaron Benton, my go-to mortgage guy, and he can walk you through some of those down payment options. And again, in Sun City, a lot of people are paying cash, and a lot of people are, you know, putting a big chunk down. So again, that's kind of different for everybody. You're also going to owe at closing loan origination fees. And this is something that the lender is charging for their services. And it could be 0.5%, it could be 1%, but that's something to definitely ask your lender how much their origination fee is going to be, so you can calculate that into your total cash to close when you get to the closing table. Another thing you're going to want to think about is the home inspection. So the home inspection is something that we do up front. So as soon as, and this is more along for a resale home. If you have a new home, you can still do a home inspection, but most people don't. But on a resale home, when you sign the contract, you're going to have 7 to 10 days to do what we call due diligence. So that includes home inspections and any other kind of research you need to do to sort of vet that property. And I have home inspectors that I work with, and I can put you in touch with them, but they typically charge anywhere from $400 to $700. Now, this is something you're going to have to pay for up front, like on a credit card. It doesn't come at the closing table. You're paying it, like, you know, within a week of signing a sales contract. And then, of course, if you find any items on that inspection report, then we can negotiate that. We can ask them to repair it. We can ask for a reduction in the price. We can ask for cash back at closing to repair those items. But again, that $400 to $700 fee, you're going to owe that, you know, fairly quickly after signing a contract. Another item that you will see on your closing statement is an appraisal. And again, this, if you're going through a lender, then you're going to be required to do an appraisal, and they will add that to your closing fees. Now, you don't get to pick your appraiser. The bank actually chooses it, and they're going to be anywhere from about $500 to about $700. Now, if you're paying cash, you don't have to have an appraisal. I can run a CMA for you, and I can let you know if the home is priced right or if it's close. If you want an appraisal for your own peace of mind, you absolutely can have that. But again, that would be something that would come out of your pocket. And if you were paying cash and you wanted to have that appraisal up front, again, you would have to pay that prior to closing. Now, if you're going through a bank, it's just going to get added on to your closing cost. Surveys are optional, and typically on resale homes, people are doing surveys because they want to put a fence in. And because they don't allow fences in Sun City, most people are not paying for the survey. So again, surveys are going to be anywhere from about $300 to $800. I usually recommend people not worry about it, especially in Sun City. I don't think it's really important, but if you want it, you can have it. Next, we're going to go to the title search and the title insurance. So these two together are going to equal up anywhere between $500 and $2,000. And these are going to go on your closing statement. Now, the title search you're required to do, but the title insurance you are not required to do. And if it's new construction or a newer home, especially in Sun City, I typically, you know, a lot of times I don't recommend it, but if it's a house that's changed hands a lot of times, then maybe it pays to have that title insurance. It might be $1,000 or $1,500, but that basically just protects you if somebody came back and said that they had claims to that house for some reason, or somebody didn't have the right to sell it at some point in the past, and they're going to try to assert their ownership rights over that property. It just protects you against that. Again, the title insurance side is optional. The title search is a fee that the attorney charges, and that is not optional. All right, moving on, attorney's fees, what the attorney charges. Now, I have a great attorney that I use for the vast majority of my closings. Their names are Healy and Forright. Chris Forright and Luke Healy are the two owners of that company, and they're great guys. They're also some of my great friends, and I'm sure if you come down here and do some business with me, you'll probably end up meeting them. Pretty much every attorney in town is charging almost exactly the same thing, so it's really just finding someone that you know, love, and trust. And the attorney's fees are going to range anywhere from about $500 to $1,000 for them just to prepare all the documents. All right, this is kind of an important one, so pay attention. Transfer fees. So every neighborhood in the South Carolina Lowcountry pretty much has what we call transfer fees. And these are fees that are charged to the buyer and at the closing of a property, and they just go into the neighborhood piggy bank so that they can make repairs, improve the facilities, do what they need to do, keep their financials healthy. And in Sun City, if you're buying a resale, you are charged a transfer fee. If you are buying a new construction home, you are not charged the transfer fee. So that's very important. It's a big benefit to buying new construction. So if you are buying a resale home, the transfer fee is 2/3 of 1% plus a $3,500 community enhancement fee plus a $300 administrative fee. Now, if you are buying new, there's going to be 0 transfer fee. So again, keep that in your calculations if you are, debating going new versus resale. Next one, property taxes. So again, the attorney is going to collect some property taxes in advance at the closing table. That's going to be part of your closing cost. And now the good thing about buying a new construction home is for that first year that you own that property, you are only taxed on the land value. The county has not assessed a building on that property yet. So that first year's taxes are going to be much, much less. Now, again, I just want to remind you guys, and I'll talk about this later when we talk about recurring costs, but the property taxes on the Jasper County side, which is the north section and the new section, they're going to be roughly 1% of the purchase price. If you're buying on the south section, which is the original section, or over in Riverbend, those are both in Beaufort County. Those are going to be roughly, again, I use the word roughly, about 0.5% of the purchase price. So the taxes are less on the older side. Now keep in mind, if this is not your primary home, your taxes are going to be much higher, over double on both cases. So keep that in mind, and we'll talk more about that later. Now, also, property taxes are charged in arrears, which means they're charged at the end of the tax cycle. So you pay them at the end of the year after you've already lived there for almost a year. So if you're buying a resale home, depending on the time of year that you buy it, there's a very good chance that the seller is going to owe you a credit at the closing table because the taxes haven't been paid yet. And if they lived in the house for 6 months and then the house sells, you're going to pay taxes later on that. So they're going to actually owe you about 6 months worth of taxes at the closing table. Next item, prepaid insurance. Again, this only applies if you are financing the property. So if you're financing it, typically the lender is going to want to escrow some insurance money. And they're going to want to escrow probably about 3 months worth of insurance. If you're paying cash, you don't have to escrow that money. You can pay your insurance and just deal with that outside of closing. Next item would be the rate buy down. So right now we're at a little bit higher interest rate situation in the country. And so a lot of people are using some cash to buy down the rate and try to get a more reasonable payment. And those are basically charged as like points on your closing costs. So that could be $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. It really depends on how much you want to buy that rate down, how long you plan on keeping that mortgage, how long you think you're going to have it before you refinance it or pay it off. Again, these are questions to talk to the lender about. And again, I have a really great lender. I have a few great lenders. I always recommend people work with a local lender if they can, or if you're going new construction, they're definitely going to have you work with their lender in order to unlock some of their secret money. They do have some incentives and some free money they will give you, which changes every month, but it's usually a fairly large chunk of money that they're going to give you for free if you work with their lender, which is Pulte Mortgage. All right. Next item is your POA fees. So you are going to owe at the closing table a quarter of the annual POA fees in advance. So you're basically making a deposit on that. And your POA fees are actually different on the various sections. So if you're buying in the new section or if you're buying in the north section, those are both in Jasper County, your POA fees are going to be $3,425 per year as of this year. They might change next year. So you're going to owe a quarter of that at closing. So you're going to owe about $856 at closing. Now, if you're buying a resale home on the south side or over in Riverbend, your POA fees are less. They're $2,688 per year. They're less because you're required to do your own lawn care on those sections. So you're paying a little bit extra in the other sections to get your lawn mowed for you, but in the south side in Riverbend, it's $2,688 per year, and you're gonna owe a quarter of that at closing, which is $672. The last thing that you're gonna owe as an upfront cost at the closing table is what we call deed stamps. And these are fees paid to the county. And it's a little bit different whether you're in Beaufort County or Jasper County. And it's a really long, kind of convoluted formula. I've got it programmed into a spreadsheet, so I can pretty much take any purchase price, plug it in there, and it'll give me what the estimated deed stamps are. So either me or an attorney can figure that up for you. But I just thought I'd give you a couple of examples that I pulled off some recent closing statements. So on about a $300,000 house, your deed stamps or your county fees are going to be about $1,000. On a $600,000 house, they're going to be about $2,000. Again, not exactly, but that's pretty close. So you can sort of do the math and calculate, what value you're looking at and figure that into your cost. Now, let's talk about recurring costs. So once you buy and once you close, what's it going to cost me to actually live in Sun City, Hilton Head? All right, so the first thing and the most important thing is, of course, if you have a mortgage payment. So some people pay cash for these houses and some people take out a mortgage. So if you have a mortgage, you're going to owe the principal, the interest, the taxes, and the insurance. We call that PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And again, I can do these calculations for you based on the interest rate that you've been quoted and the purchase price, and I can figure all that out for you if you want me to do that math. There's some really cool calculators you can use online to sort of figure that out on your own. Also, your HOA fees. So that's your homeowners association. That's what it's costing you to live in Sun City, Hilton Head. And I already touched on this earlier, but I'll just review these numbers with you one more time. If you are on the north side or you're in the brand new section, which they're calling the West Campus, your POA fees as of right now are $3,425 per year. And that does include lawn care and also, I think, annual power washing to keep the house looking nice. If you're on the south side or the Riverbend section, your fees are going to be $2,688 per year, and that does not include your lawn care, which we'll talk about lawn care later. But this does give you access to almost all the amenities: the pools, the clubs, the fitness centers, all the fun stuff, the tennis, the pickleball, all the restaurants. I mean, you've got so much going on. You've got 40, 50 events happening every day that you can participate in. So that does unlock a world of fun, I promise. Taxes, we already talked about taxes, but that is going to be something that is part of that principal, interest, taxes, and insurance payment. And again, I just want to reiterate a couple points I already made. If you're in the Jasper County section, which is the north side, and the new section, the west section, you're about 1% per year, and that first year you're only taxed on the land value, so it's going to be very low that first year. On the Beaufort County side, which is the south side, and Riverbend, it's about 0.5% of the purchase price per year. And always keep in mind, buyer beware, it is much higher if this is going to be your second home. If you don't register it as your primary home, you're going to be paying more than double that rate for either county. Insurance. This is part of that principal, interest, taxes, and insurance discussion that we were just talking about when we started this. But your insurance, it's going to range. It's going to depend on the age of the home, the value of the home, the location, quite a few other things. But I'd say on average, for the sort of median price point home in Sun City, let's just say 500,000, 600,000, 700,000, somewhere in that range, you're probably going to pay anywhere from about $1,000 to $3,000 in insurance. And again, I've got great insurance people here locally. So if you want a specific quote on a specific property, let me know and I'll send you the contact information for a couple of my preferred insurance people right here in the South Carolina Lowcountry. Next item on the list is flood insurance. We are the Lowcountry, and it is low in elevation. That's why it's called the Lowcountry. Some areas do require a flood policy in addition to your homeowner's insurance. Most of the areas don't. So we have a couple of what we call flood zones, FEMA flood zones. We have Zone X. Zone X means that you are not required to carry any additional flood coverage. So in this instance, it would be 0. Now, if you're in Zone AE or Zone A, you are going to be required to carry flood insurance if you have a mortgage. If you don't have a mortgage, you don't have to do anything, but it's probably still a good idea. Now, if you need flood insurance, if you're required to have flood insurance based on the home that you pick out, it could range anywhere from $300 per year to like $3,000 per year. But don't freak out. I've barely ever seen like a $3,000 a year flood policy. I'd say on average, I'm seeing like $300 to $1,000 per year for that additional flood coverage. For day-to-day living, you're going to have your utilities, and these are smaller homes. You know, a lot of people are right sizing for retirement, so they're going to less square footage. So it's not super expensive to heat and cool and power these homes. I would say on average, you're probably looking at about $150 a month to maybe $400 a month for a really big home. Also, I think the newer homes are more efficient, so they probably use less energy than the older homes. So maybe some of the older homes that were built 25 years ago, those might use a little bit more energy than some of the newer homes. But that kind of gives you a range, 150 to 400, could be more, could be less, but that's kind of a good sweet spot. All right, next item on the day-to-day maintenance is your lawn care, depending on what section. So if you live in the new section or the north section, those are both of the Jasper County sections of Sun City, your lawn care is going to be 0. So don't worry about it, nothing else to think about there. Now, if you live in the south section or Riverbend, you are required to either do your own lawn care or hire somebody. I would say on average, I'm seeing probably $80 to $150 per month for the landscaping companies to maintain your property. Now, I will say that a lot of these folks will get together and they'll get 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, 8 people on their street that all band together, and they go to one lawn care company and they say, hey, you can have all of us, but you're gonna have to cut us a sweet deal. So in some cases, some folks are getting really good deals on their lawn care. All right, next item is pest control. Most people do have some kind of pest control service for their home to control bugs, and they're like palmetto bugs and ants and, you know, just different little critters that you don't want in your house. So I use a guy, Joe, at Mr. Pest Control. He's one of my best buds, and I refer him to everybody, primarily because he treats people the same way I want to treat people, takes really good care of folks. But I would say your pest control services are going to be anywhere from about $30 to maybe $100 per month, depending on the level of service that you want. Now, the other thing you're going to want is you're going to want a termite bond. And a termite bond is something that you buy through a pest control company, and they go out and they do regular treatments on that property to make sure that termites don't get in. And God forbid, if something happened and termites did get into the house, that bond is basically like an insurance policy that pays for any repairs that would, you know, come up due to that infestation. So that's something you're going to want to talk to. A lot of times you can transfer the existing bond, or if you're buying new construction, there's already one on there, so you'll have to sort of renew to keep it going. But that's something definitely to remember when you're buying new or resale in Sun City. Next item that would be, I guess, ongoing expense if you're living in Sun City is golf. So golf is not included in that base POA fee. Now, the good thing is golf is on a pay per play cost basis, so you only pay for what you use. There are some package deals that you can do where you can bring the cost down per round if you commit to a certain number of rounds. I don't have the rate sheet right in front of me, but if you email me or text me, I'll send you the rate sheet and you can kind of see what that looks like. So that's a good thing. You're not paying for something that you're not using, and you're only going to pay for however much you use. Next item is fitness classes. So if it is a group fitness class with an instructor over at the gyms, they are charging an additional fee for that. And I think the range is like maybe $7 to $10 per class. That's your yoga, your Pilates, you know, your spin classes, all the group dance classes, all the fun stuff that you can do. If you're going to take group classes, just, you know, figure, you know, however many days per week you think you want to do that, that's going to be an ongoing expense as well. There are some clubs in Sun City, and again, there's almost 200 clubs that you can join in Sun City. And I always tell people, you know, like once or twice a year they have the club fair where all these different clubs will set up their tents and you'll walk around and they're going to try to talk you into joining their club or join their group. I mean, there's something for every interest you could ever possibly imagine. But some of the clubs do have a nominal fee. For example, I think the woodworking club and the woodworking shop's around $50 a year. It gives you access to millions and millions of dollars worth of woodworking equipment, and you also have to go through a safety class, but that would be an additional fee, as are some of the other costs. All right, so final section of this video is other costs to consider if you're moving from somewhere else to Sun City Hilton Head. The moving costs. Again, you're gonna have to think about, do I wanna rent a U-Haul and try to do it myself, or do I want to hire a moving company, which for retirees and for folks that are, you know, entering that 55 active adult stage of life, most people are probably hiring a moving company. And so then that takes me on to the next item, which is furniture and decor. So you got to think about how much you're going to spend to decorate your new home, or are you going to bring your furniture from your old house to this new house? And you really want to weigh out the pros and the cons of, you know, buying new versus moving your stuff. Now, don't quote me on this number, but I did just ask ChatGPT to come up with like the average cost to move across country using a moving company. And it said on average, it's about $1 per pound of stuff that you're moving. Again, based on distance and other factors, but you could be spending $10,000, $20,000 to move all your old stuff across the country. I always tell people, hey, this is a new start to life. This is an exciting time of life. Why not just like get rid of all the old furniture and have fun and decorate the place exactly the way you want? And you know, it's going to be a different layout. It's going to be a different style of home. You're in a new location. Probably, you know, out with the old, in with the new, try something new, but you do have to think about the cost to move, and if you're not moving a whole bunch of stuff, the cost to redecorate and refurnish this new place. Now, again, I did a video not too long ago with an interior decorator at Ethan Allen. Their store is right outside the gate of Sun City, and they do offer free interior design services if you're buying some of your furniture from them. And I actually recently did this. I hired them, or I used her to redecorate my new office, which actually getting done this week. So if you guys come to town, you'll get to see that. But the Ethan Allen lady came out and did this entire plan. It was so much fun. I got to go into their showroom and pick everything out. She had all these drawings and diagrams and fabrics and everything. And so you can set your house up that way if you want. Last item would be renovations. And again, this only applies if you're buying a resale home. But if you're buying a home on the south side or over in Riverbend, it might be a little dated. Some of the homes in there are 20, 25 years old. So it could need a new roof soon. It could need a new HVAC system. Those are probably the two biggest items that we see that are the most expensive. Or it just might need a little bit of what I call fluff and puff, right? You want something to make it feel more modern, which probably the biggest things that people are redoing are the bathrooms and the kitchens. But again, that could be a significant expense. That could be $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000, who knows, depending on how in depth you want to go. Now, I will tell you, I have great contractors. So if you fall in love with a house on the south side and you love the lot and you love the view and you love the floor plan and you love the location, but it's a little bit dated, I've got people that can help you out and redecorate it and remodel it for you. And they can even do it before you move in. So if you want to buy the home, have an entire renovation done, and when you get here, you've got basically a completely redone, new looking house, I can help you with that. So just let me know. So with all that being said, that is a summary of all the costs and fees and everything you should be thinking about if you're buying in Sun City Hilton Head. I hope you found it helpful. And again, if I can help you find your own Lowcountry lifestyle, give me a call, send me an email, shoot me a text, or even book a Zoom call, all in the description below. And if you want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest happening here, be sure and like, subscribe, and tap that bell for notifications so you'll know every time I drop a new video. It's been an absolute pleasure spending time with you today. I hope to meet you in person at some point, but if not, I will at least see you, hopefully, on the next video.